Have you ever been to a world buffet restaurant? You know, where there's different sections with food from different parts of the world in them. You have Indian food over here, Chinese food over there, Italian over in the corner. Oh, and what's that right next to it? A carvery. On one single plate, you can put food that was never meant to go together and mix them all up for a unique dining experience. You can have curry next to sushi with some roast beef and potatoes on the side. I guess that's a little bit of the problem with buffets. When the choice is so great, how do you choose? Well, in these places, you don't have to. So you get a little bit of everything. You know, in some of them, you can even build your own burger. And you can just keep piling it up beyond anything that would fit in your mouth. Incidentally, that reminds me of a joke. Please bear with me. A Buddhist walks into a burger bar and says, "Can you make me one with everything?" One with everything. That is how today's culture actually tends to treat its spiritual life. Studies have shown that the biggest growing religion in the West at the moment would be what you classify as the nones. That's those who have no specific religion, so instead on forms would write or tick the box none. Now, that doesn't mean they don't believe in anything. No, the trend is actually not towards atheism, as you might think. It's towards a different type of spirituality, a one with everything. A mixture, a bit from here and a bit from there, where there's so much to choose from, so people now can pick and choose what they want. In fact, the very idea that there's no such thing as ultimate truth helps this along the way, because what you do instead is you find your truth, you find out what's good for you. Although we've moved away from the idea that there is no truth, in a lot of ways we've moved to "that's my truth." And when it becomes my truth, it becomes indisputable by others. We've personalized truth as if it's stationary. And if the stuff that you're picking out, well, if it doesn't go with the other stuff you've picked, it doesn't really matter. So, for example, you want to believe in heaven. Great. But there's no need to believe in hell or God. You want to complement that with some angels? Sure, don't worry. Don't worry if they don't make any sense without God. I tell you what, you want some horoscopes or tarot cards just to throw in for good measure? Well, that's absolutely fine if it works for you. Really, it's amazing how many people who don't believe in God or accept who Jesus is still see themselves as going to the Christian concept of heaven. We live in a spiritual buffet where you take what you want and you leave what you don't. But actually, technology continues to reinforce that very thinking. Facebook and TikTok, they become echo chambers where our own beliefs are reinforced back to us with no challenge, and new exciting options are available all the time. When the algorithms in these programs know what you like, what they do is they keep presenting more and more of what you're interested in. And what happens is the spiritual buffet grows larger and larger, and you're suddenly presented by, see here, all of these options. The spiritual hunger in people has not gone, but it is finding new channels to explore, and the echo chamber that we find ourselves in just keeps bouncing it back and back and back. And we end up, if we're interested in one strange line of spirituality, being offered more of the same. studies have shown that this kind of spirituality is on the rise amongst those who would say none to their religion. Actually, to many who'd write Christian on that same piece of paper, there is still this mix of other philosophies thrown in. It is, in many ways, the spirit of this current age. But there's a problem with this kind of buffet. There's so much to choose from. You're guaranteed to choose too much. That will result in you feeling not too good. In fact, it can make you feeling rather sick. Like pairing curry with seaweed. The problem with this pick and choose philosophy is it actually creates confusion. It creates deception. And it blinds us from the fact that all of these things that we're picking from were never designed to go together in the first place. But the reality is, not all roads lead to the same place. Let's take Jesus, because that's who we're here to talk about tonight. Mixing a belief of him as a good teacher or a more enlightened spiritual person. Well, unfortunately, both of those things go against the very things Jesus said about himself. So to take his teaching in a buffet-style pick and choose is to deny and disrespect his actual teachings. Let me give you an example. Jesus is talking at one point about heaven, and one of his followers gets confused and says, "We don't know the way." And Jesus replies with a statement that you need to hear. Jesus said, "I am the way, and the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. If you had known me, you would have known my Father also. From now on, you do know him, and you have seen him." Jesus is saying some staggering claims here. First, he is claiming directly to be God. He says, "If you've known me, you would have known my Father also. But from now on, you do know him, and you have seen him." He's saying, if you've seen him, seen me, him, you have seen the Father. You've seen God. Now, sometimes you might hear people say, and I've heard this many times, well, you know, Jesus never actually claimed to be God. That's something that the church declared afterwards. People who say that tend to be saying something that, well, it tends to be suggesting they haven't really listened to many of the words of Jesus, because he was frank and clear, and not only that, he said it often. Whether he was God or not, well, I'm happy to have that discussion, but it's absolutely wrong to say he never claimed it. That argument holds no water at all. But he also says this in that statement. He says he is the way. He says he is the truth, and that he is the life. That nobody will come to the Father. Nobody will come to God other than through him. Jesus claimed to be the exclusive route to God, the exclusive way to heaven. Can you see now why Jesus doesn't really fit in the pick and mix? Jesus didn't come to offer us a buffet, he came to offer us a set menu. Now, some may rail against this a bit. Why is Jesus so exclusive? Surely it would be much fairer to be more inclusive. But here's the thing. Jesus is the only one who can make the difference, quite precisely because he is the only one who is God. He is the only Son of God. He is the only one who is God himself, made flesh to walk amongst us. Nobody else can be that route because nobody else is him. It's that simple. He is the only one who died to set us free. He is the only one who left heaven to come and suffer so that we could get to heaven. Nobody else has done that. But it's wrong to say that Jesus is exclusive. Jesus is not exclusive. Not at all. He's the one way, but he is the way that is for everyone. That's not exclusive. Jesus describes himself as the door. The door is the way in. Nobody would blame a door for being the only way into a room. You wouldn't call that exclusive, you'd call it a door. We'd only do that if the door would only open for certain people. Jesus did not come for a select group of special people. He didn't come for those who were good enough. And I tell you, I'm glad of that, because I'm not one of the good enoughs. He didn't come to save the super spiritual or the ones who have done the best at charity. No, the Bible tells us how we enter that door. It says, all who call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. All that the door requires is for you to go through it. When we call on Jesus, when we reach out to him and follow him, we are going through the door. And this door is open to the rich, the poor, the bold, the cowardly. It's open to all of those whose lives have been good and all those whose lives have been bad. Let me tell you, that door is inclusive. That is the love of God for us. Nobody who wants Jesus and is willing to give their life to him will be denied him. Talk about inclusive. But we have to accept him on his terms. We have to go through that door. He is the way. In other words, he will not be bypassed. There's no finding heaven on another route. He is the truth. He won't be mixed with other ideas. Jesus won't be part of the faith buffet. And he is the life. He is the only one who can offer life. And he is the only one who can offer eternity. Let me tell you, that's an offer that is open to every single one of us. The question is, are you willing to accept that the door's there? Are you willing to go through the door? It's open to all, but it's the only way. I don't want one with everything. I want the one who has everything. I hope that's helped you understand a little bit about what Jesus has done for you. You know, when Jesus died for us, he said, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing. He said it for the people who were crucifying him, but you know what? He said it just as much for us. He died so that we could be forgiven. He died to make a way. But what he's asking is, are you willing to go through the door? I'd love to pray just for one brief moment. Lord, I just pray for those who are watching in homes now, that have tried to make a buffet and found it hasn't worked. Lord, I pray, show them you are the way, the truth, the life, and you're the one door. Lord, I just pray, speak to them tonight. Amen.